that's just what the Hebrews thought.
Now what's that supposed to be coming out of there?
Lightning. Fire. Power of God or something.
Beginning to understand Hitler's interest in this.
Oh, yes. The Bible speaks of the Ark leveling mountains and laying waste to entire regions. An army which carries the Ark before it is invincible.
Why does the floor move?
Give me your torch. Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Asps. Very dangerous. You go first.
All right, people. The year was 1981. And it was the summer of 1981. I was living in Rosemount, Minnesota. And we had one local theater. It was called the Burnsville One Theater. It was located in a shopping mall. I was always amazed how big those theaters actually are, considering how small the building looked. It was like something from, hey, I'll do a reference for you there, Trevor, from Doctor Who's TARDIS.
Right.
lot bigger inside than it looks on the outside.
I like that you're now doing the Doctor Who references and not me. Thanks.
That's it. Whenever I talk about it again. And me and my brothers, it was Dollar Tuesdays. Jesus. Remember, unreal how times have changed.
Yeah.
And the line went all the way past B. Dalton Books. Now, people don't know what B. Dalton Books is, but it was a bookstore in the States, and that was just my reference to how far away that we were actually from the theater.
Right. Yeah.
Inside the mall, and we reached to B. Dalton. But we got in to see the premiere of Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. And when I saw it, I was glued. I mean, you couldn't take me out of that theater. It was just an experience. Mm-hmm. And this is when I was 10 or 9, whatever it was. And I always went to movies when I was a little kid, Superman, and I saw The Black Hole and Time After Time. And I remember seeing all these films when I was a kid. But it was this film, Raiders of the Lost Ark, that sucked me in and made me the fanboy I am today of probably going to films itself and the film industry itself.
Yes.
And of course, Harrison Ford.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember everything about it. I saw it 10 times, if not more, in the theater.
Wow.
Wouldn't stop going. And talking today, 2023, as we're about to talk the release of the last one coming out. It's bittersweet.
Mm-hmm.
And it just amazes me that we're talking about it today. Yeah. And it's so fresh in my head, sitting in that theater in Burnsville with my brothers watching Raiders in 1981. And here we are now. It's just
40 odd years later talking about it still.
It's incredible. This is an experience to mirror that experience. And this is so fun for me to do this today.
Brilliant. I have a confession to make. I did not see this whenever it was originally released in the cinema because I would only been about 4 years old at the time, so I was probably a bit too young. The first Indiana Jones film I saw in the cinema was Temple of Doom in 1984. Great experience, the old cinema in Belfast and stuff. However, I did then catch Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was either on TV or on video. I can't really remember. But for me, Temple of Doom came first. I'm sorry I missed it at the cinema, but I was like 4 years old, so it just didn't happen. I then saw whenever I was 12, 13. I would have been. Let me just work it out. Yeah, I would have been coming 13. I then saw, The Last Crusade in the cinema as well up in Portrush here in Northern Ireland. Whenever I was on holiday, it was released at the same time. I was up with my parents and my sisters. But yeah, huge fan of the indie series, especially the original 3.
Yeah, we're gonna. Everyone knows who listens to this podcast. My favorite movie franchise of all time is the Indiana Jones.
It would be up there with me. In fact, due to the route that Star Wars has taken, the modern Star Wars, I would say Indiana Jones is probably overtaken it now as being my favorite popcorny franchise, just pure fun enjoyment film series.
Yeah, Raiders of Lost Ark has done a lot of things. Obviously, box office gold, Harrison Ford, certified celebrity, certified star. But, it brought a lot of newcomers together. And before we jump, we're going to jump in the podcast now here. Obviously, I already have jumped in the podcast. But before we talk Raiders, I want to talk about the cast and crew. And first and foremost, Spielberg and Lucas. Mm-hmm. I don't have to reintroduce them. Enough said. There's a funny story. The whole thing was about Tom Selleck.
Yes.
Tom Selleck was originally the first choice to play Indiana, but he wasn't actually. The first choice was always Harrison Ford. And that's because of Spielberg. But it was Lucas who vetoed it. And Lucas wasn't wrong. He had a pretty good point. He says, I've worked with Harrison in the Star Wars franchise. I've worked with Harrison in American Graffiti. I don't want to keep working with the same actors. We want to do something different with my films. And I kind of understood what he was saying. But what happened was Tom Selleck's program, Magnum P.I., was filming in Hawaii. And so he could not take the part at the time. And therefore, Harrison Ford got it.
As much as I, quite like Tom Selleck, it wouldn't have been the same with him as Indy. It really wouldn't have been.
100% agree. And this is nothing against Tom Selleck.
Yes.
I like Tom Selleck a lot. And you know what? The man has a pretty fucking good career.
Oh, yeah.
Massive hit TV shows with Magnum and with the Jesse, I can't remember the name of the character.
He was in Friends as well.
He did Friends, but massive hit. Blue Bloods is going on his 12th year, I think, now. So he's still working today. And he did some fun adventure films in the 80s.
3 Men and a Baby he's in as well, I think.
Yep. But he did a couple of adventure films that were kind of fun. You guys should check out, called High Road to China. He did Lassiter. And then he did one called Quickly Down Under, which is quite fun and it's very Indiana Jones-esque. And the bad guy in that is Alan Rickman, who was hot from Die Hard, and he plays kind of like that, villain, pantomime villain. And so you should check that out if you haven't seen any of his Tom Selleck's works, because obviously we know him mainly from TV. But check out those films if you kind of like Tom Selleck and see what he could have brought to the Indiana Jones role. It would be kind of fun to compare.
Of course, in the resulting years after Raiders of the Lost Ark was released, there was a lot of imitations. And while some of them aren't bad and quite fun, the original's the best. I say the original, but of course it's based on, the old sort of Boy's Own sort of stories and comic books and stuff. But, none of the like Romancing the Stone with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner and stuff, even that recent one we watched Uncharted and reviewed just a couple of weeks ago. I mean, these would not hold a torch to the Indiana, especially the first 3 Indiana Jones films.
Well, I like adventure films. We talked about the Uncharted, so I won't go through that again. But I'll disagree with you on the Romancing the Stone. No, you're right. It doesn't touch Raiders. But Romancing the Stone is a fucking good movie.
I haven't seen it in years.
Michael Douglas, not Douglas. Where do you get Douglas from?
That's a correct pronunciation, Ciaran.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You're wrong. No, it's I don't know, colloquialism. I don't know, the way we pronounce things here in Belfast. And I know you're from Belfast, but, you get my drift.
Douglas. It's funny. Okay. Yes. So, obviously we got Spielberg and Lucas on board. what was a great thing about this, there's faces that were kind of introduced to this one. And the big one, personally for me as a movie buff, is a man called Frank Marshall.
Yes.
Now, Frank Marshall has been Spielberg's right-hand man, right-hand producer next to Kathleen Kennedy since this film. This is his like third or fourth big outing, but it's his first Spielberg-produced film. And the great thing about Frank Marshall, his big break was actually The Warriors. So he's coming from The Warriors to this. It's like fucking that's a nice little track record. And he went on to big things
himself as well.
Yeah, he went on to direct some fun movies, which I'm surprised he doesn't direct more. He did like Alive, which was good, and then he did Arachnophobia, which was fun, and Congo, and he does little stuff like that. But I'm surprised he never really went back into the director's chair, because his director's outing has done well for him.
Hold on a minute, I'm getting a bit mixed up here. Did Frank Marshall not direct The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile? That was Frank Darabont.
That's Frank Darabont.
Sorry, my mistake. Yeah, got you.
Well, right up there with Michael Douglas. This is going off really well.
Yes, I've got you now. Yeah.
You have Lawrence Kasdan, who went on to be a big screenwriter and director, really known for obviously The Empire Strikes Back. He wrote this, and he also wrote Empire, so he's nice career for himself. And of course, the Yoda of composers, John Williams. This next to the Halloween theme, even over the Halloween theme, I have to say, Raiders of Lost Ark is my favorite soundtrack.
I mean, rewatching it for the podcast, I still got goose pimples, in the opening segment when Indy's being chased and he eventually makes his escape and the theme kicks in. So, yeah.
I have it in my notes.
Mm-hmm.
And a massive shout out to a gentleman called Douglas Slocum. Sorry if I'm butchering that. Please forgive me. Cinematographer just passed away. He was 103 years old. Jesus.
Wow. Yeah.
But he's the one who shot all 3 indie films. Mm-hmm. I've seen this through the podcast eyes and the little kids' eyes. The cinematography in this film is uncanny.
It's beautiful.
It is gorgeous. And the great thing about the Indiana Jones films, they have some soundstage sets. We clearly know that. But like the James Bonds, they take their team and they'll go to a location. If they're saying it's in Cairo, they're taking you to Cairo.
Beat me to it. I was just thinking it while watching it through the podcast eyes, as you would say. And I said, you know what? This feels almost like an American James Bond, because they're going to the different locations. And,
Yeah, and they don't cheat.
Yep.
So it's just wonderful. Okay, Harrison Ford is Indiana. Karen Allen is Marion. Oh, I want him to see him in more. I don't know why he didn't do more in the American biz, but Paul Freeman is Belloc.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
John Rhys Davies is Sala. Ronald Lacey steals the show. Tote. Home Elliott as Brody, as you mentioned. First time appearance, Alfred Molina as Tito. Mm-hmm. Wolf Kohler as Dietrich. You have your guys called Gobbler, and then you have Barranca. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much your cast, and then you got a couple little cameos here and there. Now, the film starts in 1936. A lot of people, the one thing about a lot of movies, series, franchises, they stay in order, chronological order. Indiana Jones has never done that.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, Temple of Doom takes place, I believe, 2 years before this.
It's definitely at least a year or two before.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll discuss that soon, but yes, I know it's set before Raiders.
We're about a minute into the film. We've already been introduced to a death voodoo curse that scares his team off, and he's already been betrayed by Barranca.
Yeah.
And the introduction of Indy with the whip.
Brilliant.
And the gun, and he comes out of the shadows, and boom, there's his face. Yeah. When I was a kid, boom. Harrison Ford almost has the same shot in a movie he did a couple years after called Witness.
Yes, I remember Witness.
When he's coming into the train station and being introduced, he's coming through the doorway, through the shadows. And Well,
he's so perfect in the role, because he has that sort of, overall, because he has that sort of, that sarky, sort of, grumpy, cynical tone, but he's still a hero, but he's like an almost, reluctant hero as well, He's like, yeah.
He's always been like, he's always the guy who will have your back, but really doesn't want to have your back.
Yeah, but it can't be. He sort of really can't be arsed. But it's like almost, yeah, okay, well, might as well,
He's the guy who'll help you up, but he'll roll his eyes doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Not this
way.
Not this shit again type thing. Yeah.
The cave sequence is just unbelievably so much fun.
Yeah.
And the great thing about it, like I just mentioned a second ago, that we were just in South America, and now we're in this obviously set. Mm-hmm. But it just looks so playful.
Oh yeah.
Like you want to spend the day in there, without the spiders and stuff.
Well, I mean, the spiders are kind of cool as well, and I'm not even a fan of spiders, but I mean, there's just always something happening here. We talked before about tight scripts and every scene having relevance and forwarding the plot. Here's another perfect example of it.
And you right away you're introduced. This is going to be good fun. Mm-hmm. There's a scene where he's going to go switch the bags. The idol, the sand to the idol, and he goes, "Wait here, Speedo," and he pulls down the torch, and the dart comes out.
Yeah,
and he goes, "You stay here." And Speedo goes, "Yeah, no problem."
Yes, that's right. If you insist, Indy.
If you insist, no problem.
Yeah.
And I kind of, for a small part, he gets pretty big billing.
He does.
Alfred Molina.
I noticed that.
But it is a good part. Mm-hmm. And whether there are no small parts. What is it? There's only good roles.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. And when you think about it, everyone knows this part.
Everyone remembers him.
This is the introduction to one of the biggest movie characters of all time.
Yeah.
And even though he betrays Indy, and then he gets it through the light and the gate coming in and crushing his body, which is quite great effect.
I was just about to say that I actually miss kids' films that had loads of gore and horror in them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we had back in the day.
What I love about Spielberg, this movie's pretty violent. Mm-hmm. And the great thing about Spielberg, even talking about Poltergeist, even though it's Tobe Hooper, I still back up Tobe Hooper on that one, but it's obviously Spielberg production. He gets away with pushing the envelope a bit, and we'll talk about that with Temple of Doom.
Good on him.
And no, he didn't sell out. He just guys, hey, this is an adventure film. It's not.
Did you see he came out recently and spoke about the way about 10 or so years ago he edited E.T. Instead of the sort of government agents having guns in their hands, waving them at kids, they changed it with CGI to walkie-talkies. He spoke out recently saying he regretted that and he should never have done it.
Because it's not real.
Yes, but also because it's of the time as well type thing. You know what I mean? It is a work of art of that time, and that is reflected in it, and he shouldn't have went back and changed it.
Yeah. You're talking about fucking cancel culture.
Yes. Well, yeah. That's.
Well, no, not now. I mean, he did it back then, which he shouldn't have. He should have just stuck with what.
Yes, I know. But to be fair to him, he basically there's this level of humility, or being humble. He's saying, "Yeah, I made a mistake there. I shouldn't have re-edited that because it is a product of the time, and like the past should not be viewed from a modern day lens, if you know what I mean."
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Cancel culture.
Yes.
It's that's exactly the way things should be. Leave them alone.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're offended by it, move on.
Yeah.
The movie's done and dusted. If you start editing this shit,
we can't rewrite the past.
Jesus Christ, if you touch Raiders of Lost Ark, I fucking believe shit.
I know.
The reason why I buy my movies.
Yeah.
I have Raiders on 4K because I can't stand commercials. I can't stand editing a film of any kind. I can't stand it, and it's going to get worse.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And you people out there who are buying your films on streaming sites, you don't own the films. I want to tell you guys a story. You don't own... We're going way off. Who gives a fuck? It's Raiders. We know this is going to be a long one.
Yes.
So... when you buy a film on Apple TV, okay, we'll say Apple because this is where this happened to me. I own about 1,000 films on Apple. You don't own the film. You're just leasing it.
Yep.
So if Paramount decides to sell the rights to, say, Raiders to Fox, you could lose all those Paramount films because now Fox owns them. they'll rebrand it as Fox, and you might have to go buy the Fox version.
But if you have physical media, which I'm always a big supporter of and always will be, then nobody's taking that away from you. Like a DVD, a video, a book. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And the quality of a software is 300 times better than streaming, and that's fact. Also, there's editing. Because of what you just talked about, we both just talked about cancel culture and all like that. Yes,
censorship.
I've got TV shows like The American Office, and now because I bought it on Apple, they've edited out certain parts of the program to reflect today's society.
Censorship, as you know, Ciaran, that is just a pure form of censorship. It's also, which I've always been opposed to and always will be opposed to, but also it's actually treating the audience like children or idiots.
Yeah, and it's
insulting.
So bad.
It's actually insulting.
So when I found that out, when I lost a couple films, and Fox and Apple told me this is what they told me. And they edited my stuff. I said, that's it. I stopped, and now I buy my stuff.
Good on you. Yeah, I've always been a big supporter of physical media. It's not only that there. You can't put a download, a stream in your fucking shelf, and it doesn't look cool in your shelf because you can't do that. It's impossible. I like looking at a shelf with cool DVDs and books and stuff on it. They're collector's items, and that's my thing.
Well, yeah, I'm on the same page there.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to Raiders.
So, is this about Raiders?
All right, so we're introduced to Belloc. Belloc's a cheat. So what Belloc does is he writes the coattails off Indy.
Yeah.
He doesn't really know as much. He's a smart guy, of course, but Indy's the go-to.
He's more crafty.
Yeah, so Belloc will always let Indy do all the work and then take what's his.
Yeah,
or take what's not his. And you'll see it when we see Marion again with Tote. So he's being chased by natives, and when he swings to get to the plane, it's just the theme kicks in. It's just you get goosebumps, and it's just like there we are. We're back in the old 80s again.
Yeah, 100%. That's it. I'm back in my childhood. I'm having amazing fun watching one of the best films ever made. It's just pure entertainment. This is what filmmaking and movies should be, in my opinion, ultimately about. Like you said, you know what I mean? This made you fall in love with cinema. This is what it's all about. You know what I mean? Pure escapism, pure fun. Love it.
And you saw, obviously, you know who the plane pilot was.
Oh, that was...
Frank Marshall.
Yes, Frank Marshall, yeah.
I love when you fight snakes. I hate snakes. Oh, that's just my pet snake, Reggie.
But again, that works in the context of setting up later on. Because don't forget, this is the first Jones film. So this sets up later on his fear of snakes when he gets thrown in the pit.
Have a little backbone.
Yeah,
great line.
Card.
Yeah. Now, the whole... And people are going to laugh what I'm about to say here. But... So we're reintroduced to Indy as the teacher.
Yes.
Now, as a teacher, he's got the glasses on, he's got his bow tie on, and he's kind of misspelling words or forgetting some of the words as he's teaching to the students, and he's bumbling.
Yeah.
Because he's got all these maps and he's got all these books. He's kind of like a bumbling professor. Mm-hmm. And I thought about this, and people are gonna laugh, but I'm sticking to my guns. Indiana Jones is kind of like Clark Kent, like Superman. He's kind of like a superhero.
No, that makes sense.
Where he's got his professor clumsiness, bumbling kind of professor, but once he takes off the glasses and puts on the fedora, he's Indy. He's Indy.
Yeah, but whenever he's in the classroom, he's Dr. Jones.
He's Professor Jones.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just kind of noticed that a bit.
Can I say as well? And you made a Doctor Who reference earlier. I'm going to make one now, and it's a serious. No. It's a serious one and a genuine one. Did you know that?
I hate my life.
Right? Did you know that Matt Smith's 11th Doctor, including the character and his outfit, the bow tie and the tweed jacket, was heavily influenced by Indiana Jones?
You just ruined one of my favorite movies of all time. Now I'm going to see fucking dweeb Matt Smith.
So there you go.
What works for Raiders of Lost Ark doesn't doesn't treat his audience dumb.
Yeah, treats his audience with respect.
So
100%.
the whole discussion with the two men who come in and they talk about the plans of this Ark of the Covenant and the Staff of Ra.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be an archaeologist, and it doesn't use huge. I'm not sounding like we're idiots, but
at the same time, it doesn't oversimplify either, and it makes it interesting. I actually find these scenes actually quite just the way they're telling the story about the power of God coming down and destroying them all. It's actually quite creepy, and it's almost like horror story. It's written by written and directed and made essentially by some of the greats at the top of their game.
It is, and it's just, and you're right, spot on, because even the dialogue scenes, because we all want to see Indy jumping off stuff, and we want to see this, but I didn't mind, because usually when you're watching an action film and it's quiet time, you want to go get some popcorn, you want to do this, but with this quiet time scenes, sometimes they're just as intense as the action,
and they're really mysterious, and there's that sort of mystique pulling you in, really interesting.
Yeah, because when they were talking about the Ark and the Covenant, and they're saying, "What's that light?" I don't know, light of God, anger, whatever, lightning, whatever. He goes, "It's almost like they're telling a ghost story."
Absolutely. Yep.
Like a campfire tale, and it's a wonderful setup.
And John Williams' score obviously is used to great effect here. I'm not talking about the main theme, just other parts of the theme.
He's got that eerie little sound he puts in when there's these kind of the sound when it comes to any kind of dialogue that becomes when the conversations turns into more of a phenomenon, or like not a phenomenon, but more of a.
It also adds greatly to the. Sorry, go ahead.
No, when it comes to more of a spiritual tone or an eerie tone to it,
and it also sets up greatly what's to come and adds greatly to the tension. You know that this is what they're going searching for is forbidden, you know what I mean? Almost Lovecraftian, you know what I mean? These old books and stuff, and they're, they should not really be doing this. This is, they're going too far. They're stepping too far. They're trying to basically get inside, basically a walkie-talkie, a receiver to speak to God, and it's great.
There's a line that Belloc says about what you just said, where he says, "We look for history." I think he said something like, "We look for history. Indy, this is history."
Yeah.
I think something like that.
I think he says that in the bar in Carol.
A great setup to where we are now, which is Nepal.
Yes.
Now, who is Abner? He's Indy's old partner, correct?
Yes.
And Marion is Abner's daughter?
Yes, that's correct. And Indy and Abner fell out because Indy had a relationship basically with his daughter.
Let's talk about that relationship.
That awkwardness? Yeah.
How old was
it's never explicitly stated.
Because he goes, "I was a child. I was in love." And I'm like, okay, Indiana, what's going on here,
Ford
buddy?
in another weird scene after, Blade Runner,
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's, I wasn't, it's basically, it's left open for interpretation. That
I think it's harmless enough. I don't think she meant. And he was young too. Right?
Yeah,
I hope.
I think maybe she could have been about 16, 17 or so. I don't know. I'm guessing, and he was maybe 20.
50?
I don't know. I don't know. But again, it is a bit jarring, slightly jarring. Nothing.
All right.
Yeah,
it's harmless enough, right?
Yeah. But I think in hindsight, they may have written that scene just slightly differently, just to clear a few things up. But yeah.
He's been digging more holes to get the Ark. Don't forget it.
Yeah, no. Yes, I know what you mean.
I won't go there.
Yeah,
this is the end.
It's a bigger hole that he dug to get the Ark.
No. Don't. Let's move on. I do like the introduction of Marion when she's playing the drinking game. It's a very fun scene.
Well, it sets her up as sassy and badass too.
That's exactly what I was about to say. It's just a little 1 minute scene that sets her up as no one's going to fuck with this girl.
Yeah. Whereas modern films will hit you over the head with things like, oh, this is a strong female character, and they'll take the entire film and they'll have other characters even tell the audience because they believe that audiences today are so stupid and it's just so insulting. Whereas here in one scene with basically this setup, they just do it. It's all just in the bag. You know what I mean? It's because you've got professional filmmakers doing it and writing it.
Well, let's piggyback on the professional filmmakers part. Another shout out to the choreography and the fight scenes. Whoever handled all this is incredible. You know, it's always perfectly staged. It's always perfectly timed. So when one guy's coming in, he ducks Marion, punches the guy in the face, gets out of the way. The swordsman stabs the other guy, and it's tit for tat. It's perfect timing.
And there's also what I love about the fight scenes overall. There's always an element of comedy and humor in there as well. You know?
It's got a very Keystone Cop.
Yeah.
Or Law and Hardy, those old 30s comedies.
Slightly slapstick.
Yeah, slapstick. And if you listen to the music, we talked about how John Williams, through this film, whether we're talking something eerie, it'll have a little eerie score. But when you listen to the fight scenes, it's got this little flute playing along with it. And it, because you're having fun with it.
Yeah, it's not like I don't know, the later Rambo films or even the most recent Rambo film where it's just it's basically hardcore violent porn.
The fight scene though, piggyback is violent, and when there's a great shot where he pours whiskey on a guy, he sets him on fire. And then he gets his head shot right in the face, and you see the blood coming.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not, they don't hold it back.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the classic when Tote burns his hand.
I love that.
Grabbing the medallion.
I love Tote. And he's just such a brilliant villain. And whenever one of my old workplaces, factory, Bombardier Shorts, we used to work with a guy who looked like him, and whenever he walked past us, me and the mate would do that, the Heil Hitler, with the coin, burnt in just to sort of wind him up type thing. But brilliant villain, and just one of the most memorable screen villains that I've certainly seen anyway.
When they head to Cairo,
yes,
and another fight scene. In Cairo, again, beautifully choreographed, just timing spot on, good fun. You have a smile on your face while watching it. Nobody would get offended by this.
No.
There's a famous swordsman scene.
Yeah, brilliant.
Now that was improv.
Yes.
And there's now Harrison Ford tell the truth. He says we were drunk, we were hungover,
right?
But they said food poisoning, I think.
Yes, I remember reading that somewhere.
But the story is, for weeks, they've been practicing the swords fight scene with this poor bastard, this badass swordsman.
Yeah.
And he's been training and Harrison Ford did most of his own stunts, besides the obvious ones. But they're all ready to film the scene, and they were out the night before. Whether it's food poisoning or hungover, I'm going to go with what Harrison Ford said. And they tried to do the fight scene, and they just couldn't do it. They were all fucking sick. So he goes, Harrison Ford, can I just shoot him? And Spielberg goes, yeah, just do it. And that's the outcome of this. And it's one of the best scenes in the film. I think it's
very,
hilarious.
very funny. Yeah.
But the poor swordsman was like pissed.
Because he had went through all this training, and he was jumping about with the sword and stuff.
But I still love that scene. I think
it's
so funny.
And going back to the slapstick, it's around this point that there is like a literal bit of slapstick when Marion hits the guy who owns the monkey over the head with the frying pan.
Yeah, you'll get that, and the monkey itself.
Yes, well, it gets poisoned.
Now, once he thinks Marion's dead, there's a nice shot I really enjoy where Belloc and him are at the cafe.
Yes,
Belloc's in clear view. We see him. Clear as day. Indy is to the left of us, close up toward us, but he's blurred out a little bit, little blurred. But Belloc's clear. It is Belloc's talking to him, and as Belloc's talking to him, you can just by the expressions in Harrison Ford's face, he sells it that he just wants to fucking kill this guy.
Yep.
And he's just. The way he delivers his lines, it's the kind of the first time you see him to the point where I'm gonna,
he's angry. He's just lost
this true side of him. He just lost Marion.
Lost Marion. He's hitting the drink and he's depressed and stuff, and then he actually goes for him. But all the Egyptian sort of henchmen of Belloc, jump up with the guns, and then he's saved by Salah's kids.
Oh, that's right. I I never got where the gunmen follow out with him and the kids, and they're all laughing with him, and they got their guns. Why don't they just kill him there?
Convenient, yeah. It is a bit of a convenience. However, it's Indiana Jones. You know what I mean? This is a guy that jumped out of a fridge or jumped into a fridge to survive a nuclear bomb. I'll run with it. But yeah, if they were real bad bastards, they wouldn't give a shit about the kids.
It seems like Marion seems to get screwed because her place burns down. Her father dies.
Yes.
Indy leaves her. Her place burns down. She gets kidnapped. I mean,
yeah.
She seems to have the worst luck of
everything. It all works out for her in the end, though. And
she gets chucked in with the snakes.
That's right. And Belloc, again, going back to what you were saying about him always stealing from Indy, he literally tries to steal his girl from him, too.
The scene where they go to the wise man guy, and he's reading the Staffora, the top.
Yeah, he's working out where to go.
Yeah, and he's looking at it, and he's telling him where the location is, and the guy was telling him, just wait a minute, and he turns it around. He goes, blah blah blah. There's more here, and then Sala and Indy and Sync say they're digging in the wrong place. Mm-hmm. It's something about that line I liked. And then the next scene, you see they're obviously they go and he looks for the location with the staff of Ra. But I would love to get a poster of this shot, and it is just Indiana Jones and the helpers digging on top of this little hill, and the sun's going down. So you got the orange background, and you got the wind, and you see obviously the fedora on the hat.
Yeah,
it is probably the most gorgeous shot in this entire film. Just love it. But the next shot, well, it's not the next shot, but the next time we see Belloc and Tote and Dietrich, they're windy, but they're coming up during the sunrise. And they're walking through Cairo as they see Indy, they see some activity going on over there.
Yeah.
And that's where they find out where it is. But it's almost mirror image the shot we got of Indy, but instead of a sunset, it's a sunrise.
Yeah.
That makes any sense what
I'm
saying.
No, it's, and it's all obviously intentional. You know what I mean? I mean, these directors and, there's a touch of art about it, So
when they open up it's just little details, like when they finally they're opening up to get into the tomb.
Yes,
and they get the Serpas to get the crowbars and all the air that comes out of it. The little details like that. It feels like this hasn't
been touched in 2,000 years.
Exactly, to give the audience how old this really is, and we don't know what's down there. So, and he's like, wait. So I was like, why is the floor moving? And he goes, give me the torch. He throws it down there. He goes, oh my God, snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? And then Sal, again with the humor, asps, very dangerous. You go first.
That's right. Yeah.
Good stuff. But let me ask you this real quick. So Belloc's hitting on Marion, right? And he's pretty much just a gun for hire for the Nazis.
Yeah, he's basically a mercenary. He's out for himself.
Yeah. I know he is. But is he a bad guy?
I would say he's more of like the dark side of Indiana Jones. He's not like the Nazis would be more the villains, like the out and out villains, especially Tolt and stuff. But with Belloc, I think he's more just. I think he's basically like the poor man's Indiana Jones. He's inadequate, but he's clever enough to realize this. So he's trying to therefore steal everything from Indiana Jones and be Indiana Jones basically, but without doing the hard work or having the talent.
I almost felt
he's a fraud.
Though, because I like the character a bit, that I wish he didn't die. I almost wish they kept him on as a nemesis.
Like a recurring sort of role?
Like a recurring role, but I didn't think they knew where the franchise was going.
That's exactly it. And you can't bring him back after what happened to him. Definitely not. You know, but we got Donovan and stuff in the in the third one. So yeah, but he's a brilliant villain. You know.
Yes, of course. When Indiana Jones, when Harrison Ford, and he falls in the pit, and the cobra pops up. You can't see it anymore because they cleaned it up. You can see the glass between him and the snake. But if you look at his face, it's hilarious. His look when he sees the cobra and he's looking back, he's like wincing.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to even move because he doesn't. It's so wonderfully portrayed. He's got these, for Harrison Ford, who's known as this sulky kind of guy. He plays.
It's tongue in cheek.
He plays tongue in cheek quite well.
Yeah.
And by just the reactions to his face,
he's cynical, but it's all sort of, and even in real life, it's cynical, but it's all like nudging a wink to the audience. I'm not really a grumpy old man type thing. I'm just having a bit of a laugh. This is all pantomime.
So when Sala and Indy are going to lift the Ark out of its coffin, whatever it is, tomb.
Yeah.
Did you see the engravings? The
R2D2 and C3PO.
Yeah. No, I read that up on IMDb.
Yeah, I wouldn't have noticed it just by.
Yeah, I wouldn't have. So I watched it, and it's clear. You can see it. I started laughing. I thought that was good. That was a good laugh. One of my favorite scenes, and it's so stupid, is when Belloc and Marion are having date night,
what you're going to say here.
And Tote walks in, and he's got this weapon, looks like nunchucks.
Yeah.
And blah, blah. And it ends up being a coat hanger.
That's right. Yeah. Although I would say as well, Spielberg also came out it wasn't recent year, over the last 20 years or so anyway. Certainly before Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. He said the reason he didn't cast, well, aside from it being set in the 50s and the Nazis were, killed during World War II or, defeated during World War II, he said after directing Schindler's List, he regretted portraying the Nazis in, Last Crusade and also Raiders of the Lost Ark as a bit silly pantomime villains. But I get what he's saying, and obviously,
I don't know. I didn't mind it because at the end of the day, they get their comeuppance.
And he's also, at the same time, even with the comedic stuff, he's also ridiculing the Nazis. Yeah,
they're fucking idiots.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand where he's coming from a personal point of view, especially after making something so grave and heavy and brutally realistic as Schindler's List. It was literally based on real life. He's basically taking the piss out of the Nazis here, and that's fine by me. Yeah,
exactly. So when they chuck Marion down the hole,
yes,
and Belloc didn't want that to happen. That's what I was saying. I was teetering on. Is he really? He's kind of I don't think he would hurt anybody.
I think if he was really pushed, but he's not like an out-and-out killer or anything. Like, he's too much of a coward, I think. And too sort of self-absorbed.
I do like the Marion scene when he busts through the wall.
Yes.
And when I mentioned Poltergeist earlier in the podcast, this whole scene with the bodies and it reminded me of Poltergeist, what happens with Joe Beth Williams in the pool.
Can I just say as well, around this time, you talk about the little details and stuff. See the part where Marion's basically hanging on and her heel falls off the shoe and the snake slithers through it. The whole that's just it's just a little detail, but it's like that there's threat below here.
And like I said, like I was saying, Marion gets screwed a lot on this thing. And
to be fair, not as bad as Indy. I mean, he gets a complete shit beat out of him.
I know, but like when he burns the snake in the Sphinx thing, the statue, and the snake falls on Marion. Their banter. Karen Allen and him have really good chemistry.
Yes, definitely.
And I'm glad she does come back, and I hope she's back for the last one. So like I said, I hate snakes. I can't stand it, but this scene I couldn't stop watching because I enjoy it so much.
It's so much fun.
It's so much fun. And so when they get out of the tomb, now we're in one of my favorite fight scenes, which is this whole next 30 minutes of the car chase and the plane is just fun.
And that's Pat Roach. He fights on the plane. So he does. Who became famous were well famous in the UK in the 80s as well for his role in A Vidicine Pit, which is about a bunch of basically Geordie, Newcastle upon Tyne builders who are over working in Germany. It was like a sort of sitcom-y type drama thing.
No one's gonna. No, I don't think anyone's gonna know that.
No, everyone in the UK will, but you were in America at the time, so you won't.
Oh yeah. Well, the funny thing about that you brought him up, Pat Roach, I'm glad you gave him a shout because he deserves it. He's in all 3 Indiana Jones films.
Yes, I know. Yep.
He always plays the henchman of some sort, and we'll introduce him as we go.
Is he in 2?
Yeah,
right.
He's the guy who's in Temple of Doom. He's the guy who whips the kids. You don't recognize him, but he's the one who gets his thing stuck.
Yes.
In the rock crusher.
Yes.
That's him.
Right. Yeah.
And then he's in the 3rd one. I can't remember, but I'll look that up when we get to it. But it was nice to see him. He died sadly of throat cancer.
Yeah.
Pretty young.
And he's such a he was such a big guy physically. I mean, I wouldn't fancy squaring up against him, you know.
You know what? Well, let's talk about it. Again, the choreography is so fucking good. And what they do is the sound guys now get involved, and it's the sound of the punches that make them sound probably heavier than they actually are. And it blows you back as you hear the sound boom boom. He has
such a cool death.
Yeah, of course he does. Well, the great thing about the scene, besides him getting chopped with a blade, is it plays like a Final Destination film.
Yes.
The reason I say that is because she knocks out the pilot falls on the controls, the plane starts moving, the blades start going, the wing then cuts the tank, so the gas starts leaking. She fires at all the Nazis, causing a fire outbreak. Now that fire is about to be reached by the gas.
It goes back to the slapstick elements.
He's got to kill this big bald guy before and get Marion out of there before the gas and the fire meet.
It goes back to the slapstick, but it's not over the top slapstick like say Army of Darkness was. Well, Sam Raimi's Army of Darkness it's just over the top slapstick, and it is what it is for that film. But this is more subtly done, and yeah, this is basically
it's so fun. I fucking watched this last night. I mean, I almost don't even have to watch this for the podcast. I'm like, fuck it, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
And just watch it. And I cranked the sound up, and it's just
I watched it yesterday afternoon. Yeah,
wonderful production. This whole thing. I mean, and then you got the horse.
Yes,
and he goes onto the truck and takes over the truck. And what fun this whole scene is! And he takes a bullet. He gets shot. He falls in front of the truck. He's underneath the truck.
I love that tense scene where he's underneath the trunk, the truck, sorry, and he's pulling on the spokes, and they're like bending down and stuff. Yeah,
and they're like and there's Belloc going, bring the crush between the cars, and then he goes underneath, and he's still going. He doesn't know, but the driver doesn't know that.
Yeah,
so he's about to ram into their car.
That's right.
But the stunt where he's in, some of the stunt where he's hanging behind the truck with the whip. That's actually Harrison Ford.
I believe it. I mean, he was a young, fit man at the time. Yeah.
So when he takes off his shirt and the scene where he's getting bandaged up, that's all real bruises.
Yeah, I believe it.
So he, when he gets, it's just, and then you have that little motorcycle that comes by, and he's got this little smirk on Indy's face.
Yeah.
He just nudges the wheel and knocks the fuck up.
Yeah.
What a great scene. Takes them all out by hitting the trees.
Yeah, that's right.
But he has a good fight with the one guy who chucks him out, but he gets back in and then chucks him out.
That's right.
And he does the same thing Indy does, but unfortunately isn't as successful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't. And the great thing about this film, especially come up near the ending, the blend of practical effects, matte painting to actual landscapes.
There's actual real care, time, and effort and talent has went into it.
I mean, wow. It's so much fun. Like when the car goes off the cliff, and you can see that's a mat in the background, but you can see them screaming and their little bodies coming out of the car. It's just so
And I would also
fun.
say as well, from generally the sort of extras and stuff, the stuntmen are fucking brilliant in this,
Oh God, yeah, 100%. I mean, I've never seen a film where I would stay for the credits just because everybody who touched this film deserves.
Oh yeah,
deserves
those
a mention.
stuntmen. I mean, they had balls,
Fuck. Now the scene where he gets to
The boat?
the boat.
Yes. The pirate ship, basically.
Yeah, they get to the pirate ship, and he kisses them. So the Salah thing was nice. It was a nice little goodbye. I like the character. I'm glad he certainly does come back. And there's Indiana Jones. He goes like, he's like fucking wounded. He's in pain. He says he just wants everyone to shut the fuck up. Yeah, once he hits him with the mirror, and he's screaming. Yeah. And he goes, he goes, you're not the man you used to be. He goes, you're not the age you used to be 10 years ago. He goes, it's not the years, honey, it's the mileage. Yeah. That was ad-libbed.
Right.
And, but it was a nice small finally a little breather time for these two to connect.
Before the finale.
Now, what the fuck is with, this is the one scene people are like, huh? And it's the submarine.
Yes.
How could they not explain this?
Yeah, it is a bit of, there's a few cheats in throughout the Indiana Jones series, and it's a bit silly. It's done for sort of effect more than actual factual accuracy. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like, I mean, they could have had a scene in the submarine going, "Oh, our thing's down. We can't drop down in the water." So Harrison Ford can take a ride on the submarine.
It's just it's silly, but I mean, they sort of get away.
Yeah, I know, but everyone seems to talk about that one scene. Rumor has it there's a director's cut, and Spielberg says there isn't.
I wouldn't. I mean, it's not something I would obsess over, and I'm pedantic, and I like nitty gritty. But it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. He's hitching a backy on a fucking German submarine. You know what I mean? I'll bet. These are.
There you go. You go with it.
Yeah.
The scene that I really enjoyed the most, and it's between Belloc and himself, when he takes the bazooka and he puts it toward the Ark, and he says, "Give me Marion, or I blow the fucking thing up." And Belloc calls all this bluff. This is the scene where we're talking about we look for history, or whatever it was, the meaning of history. This is history.
Because Belloc knows him, and Belloc knows that there is no way in the world Indiana Jones will destroy such the most important historical artifact. Yes.
And it's a great scene between both of these. And that's why I would like to have seen Belloc again. But obviously we're not. But it was just a good scene between these two that are both love the same things.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
they're basically the same man, although Belloc wouldn't be quite as good as Indy. But basically, they the same goals in mind. They're basically mirror images of each other, with Belloc being a bit of a darker mirror image.
Now, when they open up the Ark,
yes,
and you have these beautiful spirits, and Belloc goes, "It's beautiful," and then one of the spirits comes toward Belloc, and this beautiful ghost or spirit turns into this creature, demon, and then everything goes to fuck. The fucking lasers going through the guys, and the poor cameraman gets it through the eyes.
But it also harks back to the painting, the picture that they see in the book at the start that we were talking about. Setting things up, the power of God.
Yeah, because they had all these beams of lights coming out, and that's what that is through the electricity. Yep. And then of course we got the melting and the head exploding.
Oh, brilliant!
And those effects still fucking hold up.
They're brilliant. So they are, and they're really gory and really horrific for a children's film, especially back then. Fucking loved it, and I still do. And not only that, the bad guys get their comeuppance. Belloc and Tolt, and and all the Nazis and stuff. And again, Indy basically outsmarts them just by simply saying to Marion, "Close your eyes, look away."
Yeah, because he probably took more out of the picture than we did. He probably saw it more than it could. If anything's coming out of this thing,
it'll be hardcore.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So, I mean, and then it gets locked away forever. The Ark, and the funny thing is, we'll see the Ark again in the franchise, which is another underrated, wonderful setup in the Crystal Skull.
I'd have to rewatch Crystal Skull, but I remember thinking it was just a bit, it was good. We'll talk about it. Yeah,
We'll get to it. Listen, this is a little longer one, but the Indiana Jones are going to be longer one.
They're worth
just
it.
Your real quick final thought on Raiders.
I think it's a terrible film. No. I mean, this is one of the greatest films. It works on several levels for me. Aside from it being just a brilliantly produced, acted, directed, written adventure film and a lot of fun and pure escapism, it also brings back nostalgia of the glory days of 80s cinema for me. That we experienced as kids. They hit the nail on the head in every department here. Great fun, pure entertainment. And these types of films are now sadly very missing these days. And that's sad for future generations, in my opinion. But as a film, it ticks all the boxes. It's brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. Raiders of Lost Ark is wonderful acting, wonderful dialogue, wonderful characters, wonderful blend of stop motion, matte, practical, wonderful score, wonderful stunts, wonderful sets. Wonderful monkey acting.
The monkey.
It's got. This is a masterpiece in filmmaking. This is a masterpiece all around. Even some flaws can be in a masterpiece. We talked about that with It's a Wonderful Life. But this is a masterpiece. This is nothing will come close to Raiders of Lost Ark in this genre. It is I can't thank Spielberg, Lucas, Marshall, and the rest of the team for just a film that I enjoyed for 40 years of my life.
And will continue to enjoy.
And I get goosebumps just saying that. Because it is a joy to watch. And you said it a second ago, how we're missing this. Mm-hmm. We're getting it back, guys. And I hope James Mangold, who's a fine, wonderful director, and the rest of the team do the swan song for Indiana Jones justice. And I can't wait. And
I'm nervous about it, I have to admit. I'm not going in negative, but I just want this complete package. All right? I want all these films in my collection and just with a smile on my face. I don't want to go out on a sour note. But I'm hoping, because the new Indiana Jones is coming out, that they will bring life. Not that it needs it. Everyone loves these films. Bring life to these films again. And maybe there'll be a resurgence so the younger generation can go back and see it. And it's just pure entertainment.
It's in my top 5 films of all time. It is a masterpiece. Nothing will touch Raiders of Lost Ark.
Maybe The Last Crusade, but we'll get to that.
No, fuck off. No. But yeah, you're pretty good. It's pretty close. All right, guys. I'm looking forward to watching Temple of Doom again.
Yes, so am I.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening today. We can give us a shout, or you can follow us. Anything you'd like to do there on CitizenFrame_podcast on Instagram, and of course Facebook. And I don't know much to say here. I am going to maybe go watch Temple of Doom now.
Yeah, I might.
I might watch Raiders again.
Why not? Better than Hollyoaks.
Oh, Jesus. Jesus fucking Hollyoaks. Guys, we're out of here. Take care of yourselves. Have a good one. Later.